listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Stay up to date on everything newsworthy with podcasts like The Daily, Up First, and 5 Things Uninterrupted at amazon.com/ad-free. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with Rick and Wayne. Come to you every Tuesday morning here at WGNS in Murfreesboro and try to handle things on the north end of the county and things going on, and a lot of it with our school system, which we'll have on today. And Wayne, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I think I've about recovered from Saturday. We cooked a ton of fish, and grateful for all the people that came out and ate with us. I hope they enjoyed the food, and of course we celebrated or honored canine officers, which you were in your early law enforcement career, and thank you for that. And I just thought it was a good day, boy. It was hot, and then that shower made it just humid, and standing over 350-degree vats of cooking oil just added to the misery, I guess you could say.
Well, it was a good time, and I was sure humbled and honored by what they did. I posted the picture of me and my dog together, and then I looked at the pictures they put online, and somehow I got a spare tire in the time in which I had my dog to when I had that picture taken the other night.
Well, people like yourself that put yourself in harm's way, so the rest of us can feel safe and sleep well at night, and God bless you for that activity. And of course, you were a detective for a long time, so that was, again, maybe we can honor detectives at some point in time.
Hopefully not, but if they do, that would be great as well. But
tough weekend for
middle
for us and the Blue, and Blue beat Blue on Saturday, so I knew we were going to struggle a little bit with Duke, but I was hopeful, and congrats to the Vols. They played a great game, and I think they beat a good team. And
I think they did, and I don't know. I didn't get to watch the game because we were there, and I listened the next morning. But it seems like a lot of people thinking that he might have stepped off the gas a little bit, being his alma mater, where he was from. They went more conservative there then. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but that's what they were saying.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of good high school football still going on. So
that's right.
This morning we have a great friend. I've known James Evans for right at I guess 20 years now.
20 years, yeah. We were talking about that earlier. 20 years.
I started attending school board meetings in November of 2003, and you came to be with the school system in early 2004?
Yeah, September of 2004 is when I started. So I'm coming up on my 20th anniversary with the school district.
That's pretty cool. You had an interesting life prior to the school system, and of course you've certainly, in 20 years of being with Rutherford County, you've the thing I makes me smile the most is that so many people know your name more than anybody else because of the school notifications when it snows or floods and stuff like that. So
yeah, but I had a humbling experience this morning. My wife laughed at me and told me to stop being a diva. But we were we went to campus school where our middle son was getting inducted into Beta Club, and I got there first as I dropped the kids off, and I left my wallet in the truck. And I walked up those big stairs at campus school and walked in. They usually say, "Hey, Mr. Evans, how you doing?" Whatever. The lady there didn't know me, which is fine.
Wow.
And she said, "I need your license." And I said, "Oh, I don't have it on me. Do you really need it?" And she said, "I do." and she sent me back to my truck to get it. And so I was just a little bit of humble pie there.
It
So.
may be, but it makes me feel as a, if I was a parent at that school going, hey, talk about due diligence.
Well, I wanted to tell her I have a badge in my pocket that'll open any school door in the county, but I didn't want to come across as a jerk, so I was like, I'll just go get my wallet like I was told to do, and I did that. So
prior to the, we were kind of chatting prior to the start of the show. I had no idea that your dad was a county commissioner. That is
well, and I can say this because my dad's not listening. My dad likes to argue. That's just so when he retired, he found his best pastime was to go join the government and just argue with people about anything they want to vote on.
That's
and
great.
I have a friend down there who works for the school system. My dad is in Cheatham County, which is where I was raised. But I've told my friend in the school system that I have saved his budget so many times because my dad will call and say, they want to spend money on a bus barn or whatever it is. And I'm like, well, Dad, they need that. He'll go, all right, I'll vote for it. And so I said, behind the scenes, I've helped you with so many votes that you don't even know about. So
that's pretty
we laugh
cool
about that. So,
but what's neat for me is I feel like through Facebook and of course being at the meetings for all those years that feel like I've watched your family grow, and of course I get to keep up with them on Facebook now. So
right. Yeah, I worked at the Tennessee, and we moved here. I moved here to go to MTSU. We originally went to Tennessee Tech for a year, but then transferred here.
Good call.
And and then after I graduated, studied journalism, moved to Nashville and was working for the Tennessean, but they had an office here, and so I was working here. This before they owned the D&J, and then got married and decided that I needed to find something that I thought would have better hours. And so I applied for a job at the school system and for their communications job, their PIO job, and Harry Gill hired me, took a chance on me. And so we moved back here, of course, and have raised our family here. We've got 3 boys now attending school, and we've been very pleased with everything that the school system has to offer and just the quality of life here. We love it. So much better than living in Nashville like we did for about a year. So.
No doubt. Hey, so what is your official title now?
Okay, so this sounds pompous, but you asked me. It's Chief Communications Officer. It's a title. We switched over to the chief system a couple of years ago, and so we used to be called like assistant superintendents or whatever, and so there's now about 7 of us who are chiefs that work directly for Dr. Sullivan. We're on his leadership team, so that's something. And then I have 2 wonderful teammates that are working in our department that are communication specialists, Barton Henley and Milan Ragland, which
right.
you know Milan
very well.
Many years she worked at the D&J, and it's just amazing. Barton's a product of the school system. Milan's children have gone through the system, and one of them still attends Oakland. They just bring so much to it because they get the perspective of being parents and all of those things. And just there's many times that we have meetings, and Milan will give us the parent perspective as someone who has a child, in a school that's not mine, and it's just been invaluable to have them on the team. Sure. So,
Milan's awesome. Her daughter and my daughter went all the way to school together.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So we shared a lot of seats together watching our kids grow up together.
Yeah.
And Zach and Milan were close. I'm not exactly sure how they got to be such great friends, but I mean I consider myself a friend too. But with the media, sometimes if you're a school board member or you're on the commission, you just may want to keep that backed off a little bit too.
Yeah, so Milan, one of the stories I always tell about her, that she's been with us now just over a year. She retired from Gannett and D&J and all that, but she came into my office a few weeks ago and said, hey, pull up your to-do list. I thought she was going to add something to my to-do list, and it was already long that day, and I reluctantly pulled it up, and she said, pick 3 things on there and give them to me. And it took me for a second. I just had to look at her. I was like, what's that? She goes, pick 3 things that I can take off your list for you, and I'll take care of them today.
How
and
cool.
I was like, that's great. Right? So,
Can I hug your neck?
That's right. And Barton does similar things too. One day he walked in and just literally picked something off my desk and said, I heard you talking about this. I got it. And they didn't even ask me. He just walked out, and I was like, okay, great. So I love having just go-getters on there that are willing to help.
It's just a true team effort.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I appreciate y'all having me here. I can talk for 2 hours if you need me to.
Well, we will. I don't know that they're going to. Brian will let you stay that long, but maybe
kick me
he
off.
will.
So with your 20 years there, I guess the number one thing it seems like parents and people talk about Rutherford County is the growth, this enormous growth we're doing, the enormous work it takes for you guys over there, the main office, to deal with the number of kids we're taking in every year and the school facilities and everything. But talk about the growth and the challenges you guys are day to day. And
so
and what's
just the
going on.
perspective there. When I started, we had about 28,000 students, and we had 29 schools. So 20 years later, we have 51 schools, and we have just passed 52,000 students. We are the fourth largest district in the state of Tennessee. If you were to add us and Murfreesboro City Schools together, since we both serve this county, we would be larger than Knox County. We would be third. Most people don't realize that.
I actually didn't realize. I knew we were close, but I did not realize we would be larger than Knox.
So is Shelby, I'm thinking the big ones would be like Davidson, Shelby, Knox, and Chattanooga. Are they all metropolitan governments as far as the school systems go, or are we unique by having a Murfreesboro City and county?
So Shelby's the largest,
Okay.
and they used to have Memphis City Schools and then Shelby County. They merged a few years ago. Memphis City, my understanding was, just said we're done, and they got out of the school business. And the county's, legally required to provide public education, so they took it all over. And they've been struggling some with that merger still. They're just trying to get all that worked out. Nashville's second, and they're of course metropolitan. Knox, I don't know if they have a city schools in Knox. I don't think they do.
I don't think
they're
they do.
just one unified district. And then Hamilton County, which is the fifth largest, they are just one county district as well. There's not a city in county.
But didn't they? I think they were city county at one time.
May have been.
Years ago, and then I had the same issue. Well, the other problem with Shelby County is, of course, Arrington and Bartlett and all of those other communities. They somehow the legislature gave them a special pass to form their own school systems.
Yeah, so I've got a friend that works for Germantown, and then one that works in Arlington, and it's funny because we'll go to these state conferences and we'll talk about the different strategies they're doing for communications, and this one guy's like, man, you're just killing it. How many schools do you have? And he said, I have 4. So I was like, I don't even want to hear it from you. 4. I said, I can do 4 in my sleep, 4. So, there are those little pockets within Shelby County that are definitely much smaller than the larger. But the city itself, we read about them. They're struggling for a number of reasons. But, but we are considered a large school system. And once you pass 50,000, the state classifies you as a large district. Dr. Sullivan looked this up. We're like around 80th in the country.
Wow.
We're larger than San Francisco Unified School District. We're definitely in the larger districts within the country even, and still climbing that list. So it's a struggle to keep that small town feel, and to also provide the same services, on such a large scale. But we're luckily we are doing it. So, yeah.
With growth, as far as I know, there's just so much you can share, but things on the drawing board that you can talk about.
So, of course, we've got the 3 additions working on the high schools right now. That's Oakland, Riverdale, and Smyrna. For the north end, you guys will love this. Smyrna is way ahead of schedule. I think it's scheduled to open next August of 25. I think they're going to be ready to start occupying that new section after fall break, which is about a month away.
Right.
And so they're way ahead of schedule. Things went really well there, really smoothly. And we're still working with Oakland. Riverdale will be open next August. And then we have bid openings for a Laverne High School edition. It's later this week. So that's
good.
That's on the board too. They severely need an addition.
What is their population now?
All of our high schools are floating around 2,000. Some of them are a little over, some are a little under. Stewart's Creek High School is around 2,300. Riverdale is about the same. Rockville's about the same, and Blackman are about all in that 22 to 2,300. Stewart's Creek is the largest right now of the high schools.
I didn't know that either. So
with the population. Yeah.
And the big change, I guess, is next year with the redistricting that's already been set up, and that was obviously done by an independent that did that. And I know that's one of the things of getting information out there I think I talk about the most is that that was done by independents. So a lot of people are finding out now, especially in the Smyrna area, that a lot of what's always been Smyrna High School is going to Siegel. So,
yep,
which is a big change for some of those families.
So we hired a company out of Kansas. Actually, that may be Missouri, but either way, they're right there on the border in Kansas City
Midwest.
But they specialize in coming in and studying zoning, and we wanted to bring someone in that had a fresh perspective, that didn't necessarily know all the history on purpose, so they could just give us an objective look at our zones, where we needed to build schools, all those things. Now, our board did make the final decision, and so they took all these different, the company provided us 2 or 3 options, and then our board kind of fine-tuned it from there. And then they've mentioned that they're going to probably come back and revisit it because it grows so quickly here. That plan was set in place last fall, about a year ago, but things have already changed within a year. So, but it told us where do we need to build schools? Where's those pockets? And so that's where the Blackman area is obviously a popular. So we've got the elementary school under construction now that opens in August. And then we're hoping to follow that up with a middle school on the.
I was going to ask you about middle school.
Yeah, we're working with the commission now to get the funding for that. But it'll open the very next year if we stay on plan. And then we need a high school in the north end, another high school. And so
I was going to bring that up about a high school. Is there?
Yeah, we're looking for land.
What on that?
Yeah, if you know anybody with land that wants to sell it, and it'll support a school in the north side. We've got a few different pieces we've looked at, and so far we haven't been able to close on any of those. But sometimes you do geological studies and you realize this one won't support a step system, or it's got too many pockets in the rock and it won't work. And so we really need a high school though in that area somewhere. So
is Blackman Middle and Oakland Middle the only 2 1,500 student middle schools?
Yes, and Blackman Middle is the largest middle school in the state of Tennessee by enrollment. They are close to 1,700, and so that puts them the size of. Siegel High School, for example, just a few years ago was only 1,800 students.
Right.
They're up to 1,900 and something now. But it just shows you how big Blackman Middle School is and how
any
much
consideration to add on to other middle schools, or is there an opportunity there?
There's always opportunity. We really need another middle school though, not because when you build an annex or a separate wing or something like that, it helps that zone, but it doesn't help necessarily the other zones.
Sure.
It only impacts that one school usually, and we really need relief in multiple schools.
Got it. You listen to James Evans. He's the Chief Communications Officer for Rutherford County School System, but his voice ought to sound familiar to you if you're a parent in Rutherford County. But we're going to take our first break and be right back with you in just a minute.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
All right, guys, it's Scott. If you're feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out now. At Low T Center here in Murfreesboro on Medical Center Parkway, they make it easy to get your levels checked. And with their on-site lab, you'll get those results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low testosterone with customized therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients achieve life-changing results. And most health insurance is accepted for treatment. For established patients with stable T levels, they also offer a convenient physician-monitored self-inject treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come into the office for weekly visits. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medications. Yep, you can lose weight. Get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
Medicare, you know the value of a good neighbor, someone you can trust, someone who looks out for you. And when it comes to Medicare, it's good to have someone on your side. That's where Senior Financial Group comes in. We're Tennesseans, just like you, and we've partnered with United Healthcare, a trusted name in health insurance. Together, we'll guide you through your Medicare options. We will compare plans, answer your questions, and ensure you get the most of your Medicare benefits with United Healthcare. Don't navigate Medicare alone. Call Senior Financial Group at 800-690-0251 or visit sfgmedicare.com for a free plan review today.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
For over 77 years, you've looked to WGNS as your source for local news. You still do, and we thank you. Hey, would you like to learn more about our community? Well, head on over to the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse this Saturday morning from 9 to noon. Members of the Rutherford County Historical Society will be there, and they'll be talking local history. It's all free, including the coffee and donuts. That's 9 to noon this Saturday at the Ransom Schoolhouse, 717 North Academy Street in Murfreesboro. Don't forget the Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Please give the gift of life. The Borough International Festival is this Sunday from 11 in the morning until 5 in the evening. It'll be at MTSU's Student Union Courtyard this Sunday. The Rutherford County Library System is offering free computer classes every week, and that's over at the Technology Engagement Center on Minerva Drive. For information, get in touch with our Rutherford County Public Library System. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see a few scattered showers and storms here this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops, a high in the upper 80s. Tonight, chance for rain and storms, a low near 66. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 74.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change has now donated more than $11 million to local nonprofits assisting worthy causes in our community. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And good morning and welcome back to Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And it's our pleasure this morning to have a great friend and really a community servant, Mr. James Evans, who is the Chief Information Officer for Rutherford County Schools. Of course, you and I go back about 20 years, but the neatest thing, and I think when you were on well over a year ago, I said something about Snowbird, and your mom was listening, and she said, "What did he mean by that?"
Yeah, my mom, she may be listening now because when she drives around in the morning, she normally has WGNS on, but she will always call me afterwards and say, "You didn't tell me you were going to be on the radio." I was like, "Well, Mom, I'm in my 40s now. I don't need to, we're not going to hang it. We're not going to hang it on the fridge, So it's she, or she'll say, "So and so said they heard you. You didn't tell me. I would have listened." It's like, what's the same old stuff you always hear? You get it live, so it's fine. So, yeah, you got me on this morning because you said it was right after the fish fry, and I really thought there'd be a to-go container this morning with some fish and hush puppies. But
well, it doesn't hold that well after.
Yeah, man, I don't know if you want to eat it.
Yeah, I don't think you want to eat
air fryers are amazing things.
Well, so. I took it to go home with me, and that's what I had for Sunday for lunch and dinner. But I don't think you want it much past that.
Yeah. So my dad has a pond that on his property he keeps stocked with fish, and my wife went down when she was pregnant with our first child, and my dad said, "Come down for a fish fry." And when we got there were catfish swimming in a bucket, and Dad said, "That's dinner." And she thought he was joking, and that's how fresh it was. He skinned it on a tree, and we didn't eat till 10 o'clock that night. That's the way Dad is. But we always joked that when you want fresh fish at Dad's house, you get literally fresh fish, the free range fish. They were in the bucket hours before you eat it.
Kids don't understand that stuff just don't get in a bag by itself and you cook it.
Right.
There's a way of process around doing that. So.
But the fish was good. I'm sorry that we couldn't share with you, but next year we'll make sure you get tickets and you can come.
Yeah, we'd love to.
This is an off-air thing that I want to try to coordinate, but we had a lot of fish left over. It might be due to weather or whatever, but we had a lot, and we're tough time finding a place to take that stuff. So I thought about the Atlas program and trying to put something together with the schools maybe by the next day if we could get it maybe out in some way and something, but we'll talk about that off air. Something to think about later.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Talk about investment like schools, because I know on the north end especially we've got some Title I schools, and some schools in the county are blessed with PTOs and parent teacher organizations that help them and give them a lot of input, guidance, fundraising things. And what's some examples or things that you guys got programs for some of the schools that could help?
So one thing people talk about when they talk about those communities that really need charter schools is that what makes charter schools work is that it's a public community partnership. And fortunately in Rutherford County, we already have a lot of that, and we have a long legacy of the community supporting the schools. And so the things that we've talked about off air, you guys have a fun run at John Coleman. The Rotary Club in Smyrna does a ton for our schools. One of the biggest needs that we have seen is that, along with our growth, is that we have a lot more families who are considered low income or on the cusp of being, in poverty, and feeding kids, buying lunches and meals. It can be expensive. And so we have a policy that we feed every child every day. Whether they pay or not, they get the same meal as anyone else, because we don't want to food shame someone, or, that's not what we're there for. But we're having a growing issue with meal debt not being paid. And some families don't fill out the federal form to get into the free and reduced lunch program. And then some they don't qualify, but they're right on the cusp and they just can't afford it. Your food at schools is generally pretty affordable, but it's still, you have 3 or 4 children, it can add up pretty quickly.
Sure.
And so last year we finished the school year with like $750,000 in unpaid meal debt that the school system just has to eat. And then, no pun intended, but we that's one thing that our board has said, is that they want to try to find partners that can help us take care of some of that.
Sure.
And we do have churches that reach out sometimes, or other community groups that says, we'd like to do a fundraiser to help some of that, and it's helped some. But first thing is we need parents to fill out that form, because if they qualify for the program, then we get reimbursed for all of that. And so the federal government sends us the money to cover their debt. But if they don't qualify, we need people to help them pay their debt.
My perception always was that your high school students, because of status and ego, that they would rather do without lunch than anybody know that they were socially or economically disadvantaged.
Sure. Well, and it used to be more of an issue when you were paying necessarily like cash, you're handing the ones who were on the program, they didn't have the cash to give. But now it's all, you type in a code, and that people don't know where the source of the funds are coming through. And families can now apply for the free reduced lunch program as a family. So they could, if you have one in elementary, one in middle, one in high school, you just do a family application and it'll cover all 3 of them. And it's a discrete thing in your file that no one sees except for the school.
It breaks my heart that a family or children not able to take advantage of that. It breaks my heart to think that they'd go school and not have breakfast or lunch when it was available.
Yeah, and what added to the confusion is that during the peak of COVID, the USDA had a program where their meal were covered. It was nationwide. And so no one had to pay, whether you could pay or not, whether you could afford it or not. And then coming back out of that, when we switched back to the traditional program, some people have just gotten used to it and just assume that it's going to be paid for, which it will be paid for, but it's coming out of the taxpayer funds. So we're trying to trying to keep that as low as possible. But it grows every year. I think we're already up to about 200,000 this year, and we're about 8 weeks into the school year.
I would just wonder how that could be communicated better, where we could get parents to actually sign up for the federal program.
Yeah.
Which would alleviate.
Is the form online, or do they need to reach out to like
it's
a guidance
all
counselor?
digital now. They can fill one out in paper, but it's all digital. It's all online. We have specialists who can help them fill out the form if there's a language barrier and things like that. They can help with those things. But like I said, some people just refuse to fill it out for a variety of reasons. But the ones that just don't know or don't know they qualify, we're trying to get more and more effort to get word out to them.
I wonder, utilizing the programs like the public TV for Rutherford County, for Murfreesboro, for the town of Smyrna, for Laverne. I don't know if Eagleville has one or not, but if just keep pressing that issue. So did you say last year was $750,000?
It was. It's right at $750,000.
I mean,
that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
I think it brings back when I talked earlier about some of the other counties being. Before I came on the commission in 2006, there's a big thing about a metro form of. I think they even put a referendum out there, and it got turned down on referendum. There's so many individual entities of cities or towns within Rutherford County, and then you got the Rutherford County portion of it. If you're in Murfreesboro, you pay double. You pay your Murfreesboro taxes in county, and same in Smyrna and Laverne, and whatnot. But things like this, I feel like that with the cities owning their water sources and their gas leases and things like that, it makes more funding come in, impact fees that they're able to do that would fund the little things like this that we really don't ever hear about. And, obviously we try to make light of things like this on this show, but, having you on today talking about here $750,000 got wrote off last year for school debt. That's nothing you hear about. Atlas program, everybody says when we talk about it, what's Atlas? And, here we got 1,500 kids that are really technically homeless, living in with no real place and where they're going to sleep at that night. So that's a big number, huge number.
And then some of the other ways to invest in schools. Of course, there's community fundraisers, things like that, like we talked about. We also, and this is one of those just realities of public school, any school. School safety is a huge topic right now because of the shootings and things that we've seen, and so our board has been investing a lot in safety training for our staff. We've done some things that have never been done before. We've invested in some actual assets at the buildings, window film, security locks, those kinds of things, additional cameras. We work really strongly with the sheriff's offices, which I can't say enough good things about. They are such a just wonderful partner with providing SROs in every school. Some schools, of course, the larger schools have multiple SROs. They're just wonderful. But one of the things that we've trained on is if there were a crisis situation in a school, we've trained our staff on how to use tourniquets and things like that. And so there's something called a Stop the Bleed kit that we're trying to put out in every school so that we have those supplies on hand if we need it. And we've been trying to get community partners to help us pay for those as well. We had a really generous donation from Smyrna Ready Mix or SRM Concrete a couple of weeks ago. They gave $20,000 that we talked about that we have those AED stations in all of our schools. We now will have Stop the Bleed kits available at all those stations. So if we had to use tourniquets or other things that are bleeding emergency related, it's all in this kit. Our goal is to get one for every classroom eventually so that the teachers have immediate access if they needed one. And I know that's a really weird topic to talk about these days.
Sure.
Like we need these emergency Stop the Bleed kits, but it's a reality that we just want to be prepared. We'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not be prepared.
No, when I started on the board, we did not have full-time nurses in on every campus. I believe now we do have full-time nurses at every campus. Is that correct?
We do, and we also have some nurses that rotate around depending on the specific needs of the students. Because certain students require more medically intensive care than others, and so they take more resources than others. So nurses do so much more than just put on Band-Aids and things like that.
Sure.
They're helping with feedings, and I mean really some intense things that nurses do. They're really invaluable as well. Now my youngest son, I think, has a crush on his school nurse, and I learned he was in second grade last year, and I learned that he was going to her almost every day, and I had to, and she would just laugh at us. It's fine, we just check in every day, and I had to kind of tell him, that's not what she's there for. So
that's funny.
That's awesome. I want to ask you about, there's been a lot on social media lately with our school buses. Is there contracts coming up with them, or is it in discussion now?
Right. So we're in the last year of we're in the last year of their 4-year contract now, and so that process is about to gear up with them negotiating the new contract, which will take effect next fiscal year starting in July.
So I've quoted a few of the school buses, and it's what the price of a school bus is now, which is around $200,000.
Yeah.
And then the price to insure that, because it's what they buy mostly on 90-seat school buses, that the rates, of course, if you have automobile insurance, it's about doubled, and unfortunately that bus insurance is more than doubled. So the cost is just it's huge what they're coming out of pocket.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hearing from contractors, that the cost of, like you said, purchasing a bus has just really, like everything else, has really gone up. And so that will be a factor in those negotiations for sure.
Yeah, sure is. You're listening to the Chief Communications Officer, James Evans, for Rutherford County Schools. But we're going to take our second break and be right back with you in just a minute.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Support First Shot at Autumn at the Alley. It will be held at Saddle Woods Farm on Franklin Road in Murfreesboro on Wednesday, September 25th from 6 until 9 p.m. It supports First Shot STEM Academy and Academic All-Stars initiatives. The night is a fantastic event with unique tastings from various spirit brands and great wines and food from the Alley on Main. Top the night off with a fabulous silent auction. Go to firstshottn.org for more information and see you at Autumn at the Alley September 25th.
At Bud's Tire Pros, we sell all major brands of tires, and we invite you to stop by today for that next set of tires. Or maybe you need us to check out your vehicle before you head out of town. We offer everything from brakes to batteries, alignments, and more. No appointments necessary, just stop on by.
I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstireprostn.com.
Hi, this is Bob Cornell, pastor of Covenant Church right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The answer that you've been looking for is found in Jesus and what he accomplished at the cross. You see, Jesus changes lives from the inside out. We would love for you to join us at Covenant Church, located at 1124 Brinkley Ave right here in Murfreesboro. We have services Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. You can learn more about us at our Cornell Ministries YouTube channel. We want you to grow in Christ at Covenant Church.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
And welcome back to the third and final segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And our pleasure this morning is Chief Information Director. Officer.
Chief firefighter, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course, y'all have changed a lot of the titles since I served, and but we're pleased to have you. We're talking all things Rutherford County Schools this morning. So.
Yeah, and we talked about Lisa Trail just briefly off air, and Lisa and I have known each other for a long time. She's really great at her job. She works for City Schools and does, my counterpart. She does my job over there. But publicly, we've had kind of a fake feud going on for a few years. We did the celebrity spelling bee together back during COVID, and she did beat me. I will say by one word she beat me. I think it was rigged, but that's fine. But during that, they
was that the word rigged?
Yeah. When they brought over the word that I missed, by the way, fluorescent. I will never misspell that word again. It's just one of those that just wakes you up in the middle of the night and you're thinking, I knew that word. But they brought a picture of Lisa over when they were shooting the promo for that, and had a camera shooting over my neck, and they had me just draw on her face.
Oh, wow.
And so I drew like a mustache and horns and things like that. And so that was part of the promo. That's what started the kind of this fake public rivalry. But for Christmas that year, I framed it, wrapped it, and then took it to their director of schools, Trey Duke, who I've known for many years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he put it on the shelf, like his bookshelf, right as you walk in. He thought it was hilarious. And she said, he has kept that there for years. Like every visitor comes in and sees my face with horns and a mustache on it. So if Lisa happens to hear this, I just wanted to know that we need to do that again this year for Christmas, some sort of keep the rivalry going. So, yeah.
I have a few weird things behind my desk, but I had read one time, and they were talking about break the ice a lot of times, especially like that in director roles and things, that the uptightness that people come in, that's a break the ice moment to where they'll see that and you can tell a story and it kind of lets you exhale a little bit. So that's a great gift.
Yeah, it's a good conversation piece.
It sure is.
So how can people, maybe they're not personal stakeholders in a particular school, but they have a heart for helping or giving. Not all schools have PTOs. I know Rick and I, being with the Smyrna Rotary Club, we act as the PTO for Smyrna West Alternative because their population is transient, or at least you hope it is, and so we fund that, if you will. But are there other schools that do not have support organizations like
so
that?
There's especially when you get into the higher poverty areas, the pockets of the county where you have your Title I schools and things like that, they don't have some of the advantages of other schools through the fundraising side. So there's lots of opportunities to give back, and the schools would be happy to talk to you about creative ways to partner with them. If you don't have a kid in school there, just reach out to them, talk to the principal. They are always looking. They would throw a banquet in your honor, I'm sure, if you wanted to find some way of doing it. So, but we try to do some fun things, like we talked about the fun run at a school, and some other things that schools have done just to make it community events. We really want them to be community schools and, be a part of the community, just that pride, like you used to have when we were younger, when you go to football games together and things like that. I was talking to someone a few years ago about how they used to walk to the football games at Smyrna High School with their family every Friday. We want schools to be that focal point of the community that draws you together. As we become more diverse and more populated, it's more important than ever that we have those community centers.
Yeah, like Smyrna, they still call themselves a town, and they try to keep that town feel.
Mm-hmm.
And the world being as automated as we are now with cell phones, and whoever thought we could carry a computer on our hip and laptops and the things we got today. There was somebody who remarked about a football game the other night, and then said they spent all that money and put all these stands in, and there was about 11 people in the stands, and you had, between band members and the students on the field, there should have been 100 or so for the parents there for their, the kids. But there's the shift work that we used to not have as a small town that we do have now, and if you got time, it'd be awesome just to show up. I know Smyrna High, if you look at some of the Smyrna High ball games, there's a lot of people there that aren't parents, but they're alumni and people like that are starting, for whatever reason. Maybe it was COVID, but it seems like to me I'm seeing a whole lot more of that than I did pre-COVID, and I hope it continues.
At one time, or when I was serving, that the majority of our Title I schools we're on the northern end of the county. Is that still the case?
It is, but that's mainly because we don't operate a lot of the elementary schools in the city limits of Murfreesboro. We have some, but because we do have the city schools here, they have some of those more inner city or urban areas that we don't serve. And so their Title I schools are there, but that's the only reason. It's not because the north end is just much more poor than the central part, but it's just because of the nature of having two systems there.
And having schools that are impacted by a majority of their student population being socially and economically disadvantaged, there's a whole laundry list of issues that make it much more difficult to educate that segment sometimes.
Well, so what you typically see in higher poverty areas is the families, my parents were like this, they had multiple jobs, just to get by, they had to. And so it's not that they don't value education or support education. They're just busy people, and that, they may be working a first shift job and a second shift job. And so there's not someone home to sit and do homework with children. And so you'll see schools have really reduced the amount of homework they give. They try to get it done at school, give them more time at school to get done, because they don't have that support at home to ensure they're doing it. But that's one of the pretty common things you see in higher poverty areas, is just that families, it's not they don't care, they're just busy. They're working, trying to survive and pay for things. And as we know, Middle Tennessee's real estate and everything else is growing and being more expensive, and it's more expensive than ever to live in this area. So, yeah.
Rick and I have had the Atlas chief officer there. I don't know if she's not has a chief in front of her name or not.
That's all two J's. Jessica Johnson. Fish hooks is what I call her. Fish hooks. She's great at what she does, and she's made a lot of partnerships in the community, and we have a lot of companies that have reached out and said we want something like that to work with. Geodis, the like after the park in Nashville, they're actually based, I think, in Lebanon, but the CEO called me when they first moved here and said, we have employees that work in Rutherford County, Wilson County, Nashville, and we are really big about giving back, and we want to do something. And so I called Jessica, and she gladly called him, and she's just so thankful. They've done so much with helping with food kits and just things like that. Because, when we talk about, I'm known a lot for the person who makes the announcement when schools are closed. But one of the things that Mr. Odom used to tell me when he was director of schools, he said, never forget that sometimes being at school is the warmest or coolest environment that a child knows. It's where they get maybe the best meal of their day is going to be at school, and we take advantage of that sometimes. So we try to really consider that before closing schools. Kids would love for us to close schools anytime the wind blows or there's threat of a thunderstorm. But the schools serve a purpose that goes beyond just academics. We are the social support for a lot of them. But Jessica in the Atlas program, she's just got such a heart for it. And just if you're needing something to do as far as giving back, she would gladly show you the various ways that she could plug you in on that. So,
are you amazed that you've gone through several director of schools in your tenure?
This is my fourth one, and it's the first time that our director of schools is younger than me. So when he first became director, he called me the old man one day, and I was like, that's my line. I usually say old man, but it is different, and it's I've been there long enough that I get asked questions like institutional knowledge, and I'm like, when did that happen? People used to see me going, oh, you're younger than I thought. They don't say that anymore. They're like, oh, your beard's getting grayer. So yeah, it's
your
different.
son's taller than you too.
And I'm glad he's not listening. But speaking of that, though, my mom did text me and said I'm doing a good job. So maybe if she knew how to download a podcast, she would probably download this one and keep it forever.
Hello, Mom. I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah, and he'll show you tonight how to do the podcast.
Yeah, it won't help. So it's okay though.
Yeah. So any big events coming up that we need to talk about? I know fall break is coming up.
All of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County is about to move to Florida for a week. If you don't believe me, just go to Destin and you'll see them all.
That's right.
It's funny, I wore a shirt down there once that had one of our school names on it, and I heard someone yell from the beach, hey, Murfreesboro! They knew that we were there. So, we all traveled down together. That's coming up in about a week. And then, of course, one thing we started a couple of years ago, which has been really popular, we take off the full week. The schools do the full week of Thanksgiving. It used to be they were open on Mondays and Tuesdays,
Sure.
but it's been pretty. Other school districts had been experimenting with it, and we really want to emphasize people spending time with their families, and so it helps them to be able to travel if they need to travel to go see grandparents or aunts and uncles and such. And so we're doing that again this year, and it was so successful last year. We got a lot of good feedback from that, and it's just another break before breaking up some of the school year for the kids and the teachers to have that recharge. So that's coming up too, right behind fall break pretty much. So
well, having the city schools and the county schools having the same fall break just it makes so much common sense.
Yeah, if we could just get MTSU on board now. Of course, their structure is so
sense.
much different. But yeah,
Sure.
That's the complaint we get now is, well, I got one in college. Like, well, let them go. They're in college. So
Exactly.
That's all we can do. So
They can build their time up in this
That's right.
college program anyways.
Yeah.
Anything else we didn't cover that you can think about? We said hi to Mom. I think we're good with that.
Yeah.
And,
So really just we just really encourage everyone. We appreciate what parents do so much. I'm a parent, and I know that it is so hard to get kids back and forth to ball games and practices and get homework done. And Sunday nights in our house are one of the busiest nights of the week because we're trying to get everything ready for Monday morning. So just huge thank you to parents for just all that you do to help us be. We can't do it without everybody working together. We would encourage parents. One big thing is to talk to their kids about school safety, not to joke about school threats and things like that. That's become kind of the new way that kids try to get out of school is to put something on social media. The law enforcement partners, they're really serious about it. And there have been some charges on some kids that thought they were just doing a prank or something. And then and it causes people to panic from what we see. So that's the thing we've really been pushing the last 2 or 3 weeks after that unfortunate event in Georgia, in Winder, that we just need parents to help us emphasize. That's one thing that we don't want to joke about is safety.
Maybe we can give a shout out to some of the people involved in the system that don't really get a lot of notoriety. Our bus contractors, drivers, our maintenance personnel inside the school, the lunch ladies,
for sure.
lunchroom.
How many employees does the Rutherford County?
That's a great question. We are closing in on 7,000 employees. About 4,000 of those are certified, which will be like teachers and administrators, but the other 3,000 are support staff.
I remember 5,000 from my time. So
that's one of the largest employers of our county.
Yeah, I think that we are behind Nissan and Yates.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we are the largest employer in the county.
And having SROs, I think, are such a blessing to be in our schools. Just to,
Well, it also builds that rapport, having the SROs there. So especially with the younger kids, so that when they get older, if there's something they need to report, they know the police are friendly. That's something that's a resource for us. The SRO at our kids' elementary school last year, they did a bike parade in the parking lot. And he was out there handing out traffic tickets if they were going too fast. Just that he was out there running the radar gun and all that stuff.
That is
and,
great.
Pull them over if they were doing what they weren't supposed to do. And just it sounds silly, but it really does build that. Like they think of him as their protector there and somebody that's approachable.
Sure.
And so that's that community policing is such an important factor.
We had Sergeant Cox and a couple of the other SROs on last week or 2 weeks ago, and going over their programs that they offer and the things they do. And I'm fortunate to have one of my neighbors as SRO, and the walls that he comes home telling stories that I could see a difference in him. He's a veteran, and seeing him do what he does now and see that the pride that he has in what he does, he really cares about those kids and he thinks of them as kids, and he really does. He takes pride in what he does. But those little things, he has kids that come in and they automatically have this standoff behavior towards them or says something, but he talks that, by the end of the school year, they're high-fiving, they know each other. And we just had one come by our house the other day, and we're speeding, and he rode up, he knew the boy's truck, and he goes up there and said something to him, and they kind of laughed about it. And then he comes back home and with a kid leaves the friend's house and stops by and stays for like 30 minutes and cuts up. And that was a kid that wouldn't even speak to him.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the school year, and that's a friendship you'll carry forever. I was an officer for 25 years, and I worked before SROs, I liked the Smyrna football games and basketball games. We always worked them and everything else. And that's what Sergeant Cox is, one of those kids that always, bothered me. I always laugh about it. He's I'm going to be what you do when I grow up. And I said, you're never going to grow up, so you won't never be me. But now he is. And
yeah, I've got pictures of Sergeant Cox playing basketball with two of my kids, and they talk about it. I mean, this was a few years ago. We were doing some sort of promo, and they still talk about, oh, he's such a great guy, stuff like that. So it's really important to have that relationship so that if the need arises where they need to report something, they know they have a sympathetic and friendly ear. So,
thank you for being with us this morning. I know your plate stays full, and but taking time out for us to share the positive with our school system. Again, God bless you and thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hope everybody enjoyed our show this week, and have a great week. I know we got some storms coming in with this front. That's maybe, I guess it is going to be a hurricane at some point. It sounds like now. I've watched this morning, so please be safe, and we'll see you again next week as usual.